Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, folks. Hey, it's me, the curator, or Josiah A. Sanderson. It's good to talk to you again. So today would be my first chapter of an audiobook. So what we're going to be covering today is chapter 1 of the Fandago Campaign, and the Prelude, because I got to include that as well. It's pretty short, so it wouldn't be worth making a separate video. Essentially, we are covering this long story. This is the audiobook. I'd rather do a free version off YouTube than make Amazon do one for me because, well, it wouldn't be me reading it, so it'd probably be better in that quality. However, I also don't want to spend all that money on something that from Amazon. I have a lot of beef with Amazon, so I'm not going to explain too much. But that all is irrelevant to what's going on today. So today is chapter 1 and the Prelude. So I hope you enjoy. Please sit back, relax. It's going to be a static image, so you don't have to worry about actually looking or reading anything. Just play it on in the background while you work. Do what you want to do. I'm sure y'all are familiar with what an audiobook is anyways. So, I'll get on with it. Prelude. It is the mid-22nd century. The human population has exploded over time. Humanity has limited spaceflight restricted to the solar system and has a couple colonies on Mars and the Moon. Titan has been terraformed, but the process is slow for the immediate colonization. Because of this, humanity seeks a habitable system. After a lot of thorough research, they discovered a nearby system with potential and sent multiple researchers to learn about this planet. Building on this, discovery of the newly identified solar system called the Fandago system. It is about the same size as the solar system, but it has 8 planets instead of 7. During the research missions to Fandago 3, the UEC deployed military units to protect the researchers against hostile elements on the planet. This would complicate their investigations. By 2134, as a result of these missions, UEC claimed it as its first planet outside the solar system. This project would be called Project Excursions of the Stars. This would garner the attention of the national news. The UEC would then conduct a lot of lotteries, selecting engineers, planners, builders, and officials who will build the governments and communities of Fandago 3, and serve as the governors and superintendents underneath the UEC's guidance. However, shortly after the settlement began, a coup d'etat would occur. The reasons for the coup d'etat are unknown, and most of the government officials remain unaware of them. Project Excursion of the Stars would continue, largely unaffected by these events. Following the coup, a group known as the Confederation of Planets would be formed, underneath the guidance of General Ivo Milkovich. The Confederation earned support from a few other planets, increasing its threat to the UEC. These are the stories that follow these interconnected events. Chapter 1, Mothership 15, 2:50 p.m., November 22nd, 2153, near the Fandago system. It's been 34 days since we left my home colony on Callisto, a moon orbiting the gas giant of Jupiter. We used to live in these large underground cities. That lifestyle never really suited me. The restrictions of living underground and these long stretches without sunlight always felt draining. But now we're heading to my destination, New Carthage. It'll be my first proper city, all above ground and everything. Unlike Callisto, with all those long cycles of darkness and lack of sunlight, New Carthage has a full 22-hour day. That alone already feels like a big step for me. My family, along with the others in the city, were wealthy enough to buy tickets for the Mothership 15. They liked the idea of moving and starting anew. Luckily, most of my friends also chose New Carthage as their destination, though not all of them. Leaving behind was pretty rough for me. Living on this ship felt pretty isolating. Despite its large size, it feels like I'm strapped in a metal and glass coffin. Hardly any windows except for the command deck. Living on the ship isn't terrible. I have friends, and school is going well, though I take issue with some of the things they teach us, especially with the teacher I have. My family consists of my parents, Thomas, and Ryan. They're all adjusting to this new condition too. Thomas is the eldest. He is married and he has a wife, but she mostly keeps to herself. Ryan, my second brother, is outgoing and very popular. Sometimes I feel a little jealous that I'm less experienced in relationships, but we're still family and we're here together, navigating this new chapter of our lives. Outside of my family, there's also my friend Kristen. She's smart, very pretty, and unlike me, she's not single. She has a boyfriend named Kyle. He's a few years older than us and works a part-time job in the ship's reactor. I can't say I dislike him. Actually, I would consider him a friend too. He often hangs out with us, but unlike Ryan's girlfriends, he's fine to be around. My other friends are David Black and Amy Miller. David is my best friend, and both of them are in my class. Though Amy recently joined us sophomore year because she's pretty smart. She was normally a grade below us, but she managed to go up a grade to keep up. I like Amy. She's really cute, pretty, and smart. But the one thing is, I don't have the guts to really ask her out, which in the grand scheme of things kind of makes me seem pathetic. I don't really shy away from fighting, guns. Hell, if there's a war, I wouldn't shy away from signing up. But asking a girl out? Shit, that's no bueno, man. David has attempted to help me in the past, but when I talk to her, I feel like I just blubber and become a blubbering buffoon. Maybe it's just not the right time yet. Besides, Amy has her eyes on some other guys on the ship. Or at least I think so. I guess I'm still not ready for that next step in life. Outside of social stuff, there's school itself, a requirement for all kids on the colony ship to have. Those who skip school are tracked down by security. Funny thing is, though, my dad is one of the 10 security captains here. Despite what people might assume, he doesn't push me towards a security job. He wants me to attend school, get my education. Even my mother wants the same. Maybe they'll think I'll end up as some genius or something. The funny thing is, none of us are really geniuses, nor do we really like school. Just feels like never-ending dross. Today was no different from any other. School followed its usual routine: English, geometry, speech, writing, and world history. Yet despite being the best in the history class, I really struggle with it. It's all because of Miss Loren. I'm sure she's a decent person, but honestly, she's infuriating, disrespectful, indifferent, and barely caring about her own job or her students. It feels like none of us are really being taught anything that's worth a damn. Now I have to endure her class one more time, and then it's Thanksgiving break for the next 2 weeks. And you would think because we're stuck in the ship, we would be bored, but it's not the case. There's a lot of things we can go to and do. There's a botanical garden, thrash ball, football, and arcade for fun too. "Attention, class. May I have your attention?" said Miss Loren. I looked at my teacher, sitting all smug looking. "Now today, you'll be reading through this slideshow. Please read it aloud. I want to make sure you're learning this info, not dawdling around. Now sit still and try not to make too much noise," she said. Pointing up her nose in the air, the slideshow turned on. World History, Chapter 10, Part 16, which we read aloud while she listened. She had a book in her hands. The book was called The War of the Worlds, written by H.G. Wells or Willis. I couldn't read between her fingers. They were all covering up the letters, so that's my best guess. She flipped through the slideshow every so often once we finished speaking, and made me feel like a third grader again. Kind of annoying, actually. She's supposed to teach us, not read some damn science fiction novel while we read aloud. Even worse, if we grew quieter, she would snap and say, "Speak up now," raising her voice every so often to keep us loud. My friend David has suggested reporting her to the principal, but I doubt they would even care. She's been teaching for 20 years, and whenever we ask for better teaching, she retorts, "I haven't changed my methods in 20 years. I won't now." I miss my old school and friends. Now I'm stuck with Miss Loren, a teacher I can't even stand. She doesn't even seem qualified, motivated to even teach us. I'm surprised this sour old lady would even want to work in a school anyway. She definitely doesn't seem to care about her job. The bell rang and the class finally ended after an hour and 20 minutes of just reading aloud. I grabbed my things and left the room. I don't even understand why we have to attend these classes anyways. We're aboard a ship. It's a 40-day plus trip. Is education that important we have to start school even while we're being transported to a whole new star system? I don't think so. After class, David and I walked home together since we live in similar pod blocks on the ship. I can't do this normally with Kristen or Amy because they live on the opposite side of the ship. To celebrate Thanksgiving break, I plan to ask David if he wants to go to the arcade. The arcade is close to Pod Block C, which is 4 pod blocks away from Amy and 5 or 6 from Kristen. Hey David, do you want to hang out with Kristen or Amy? Maybe we can go to the arcade? Sure, let's ask. Before the girls got too far away, we caught up with them. Hey, Amy, Kristen, did you guys want to go to the arcade with us? Sure, replied Amy. However, Kristen didn't say a word right away. Kristen was on the phone. She took a second before looking up. I'll be busy. Cog just texted me wanting to go on a date tonight, so I'll have to decline, she said. Supposed to be going to the reactor rooms where he works. Maybe next time, said David. I reacted a little differently. Since she's been hanging out with Kyle, she declines us a lot more. She almost never hangs out with us. Suppose that's how it goes. Maybe if I ever date somebody, I'll probably be the same, right? Well, I see. Maybe in a few days, I said. Kyle's not a bad guy, but the dude is definitely cutting into hangout time. I don't see the appeal of going to the reactor room, the cafeteria, or other places. It just seems really boring. At least with the arcades, you can do some games with friends. We'll see. My parents want me to get a job, so who's to say how busy I'll be, she said. Yeah, I'll have to get a job too. We'll see you around, Chris. David and I walked away with Amy straggling behind because she grabbed her book bag. We left the classroom, went down the hallway, went through the front entrance, and started walking towards the arcade. So what games you want to play? I don't have any specific games planned, but if you want to do any, maybe we could play doubles, triples. I'll be down to play anything, I said. Oh yeah, for sure. What do you want to do, Amy? David said, turning around and looking at her. Oh, Maddox was always fun. We made our way over to the arcade and paid the 3 credits to enter. The arcade was a small area, no larger than a 15 by 12 room, filled with about a dozen or so arcade games. They had a pool table, air hockey rinks. I found a game called Master Thief. I've probably played this more than a dozen times. Actually, that really applies to all the games here. It isn't like we're getting new ones from back on Callisto, or millions of miles away from the nearest planet in the solar system. The closest to our destination in the Sigma Theta system is the Fandago star system. Supposedly it was like some sort of tropical paradise. However, other parts have these large jungles and underdeveloped land. I don't know much about the Fandago star system, though. I booted up Master Thief and played again, playing as the Master Thief. All I do is go around in this quiet suburban neighborhood in the 21st century and find all these really old-timey stuff. Landline phones, smartphones, old computers, old clothing, all that stuff's been outdated since the 2030s. I continued to play. The goal of the first level was to escape with nearly 12,000 US dollars worth of items. And I can't even get caught. I know the ins and outs of each level, so for me this is almost child's play. While playing, the ship suddenly shook, followed by a loud booming noise, closely followed by a loud blaring noise, and a shriek loudly across the ship. What the hell was happening? I saw people running. Even the security guards were running with their guns drawn. David and Amy rushed over by my side along with other kids. What the hell is happening? Said one kid. I don't know. Everyone get the hell home now. We all scattered from the arcade. We heard gunshots, loud explosions coming from behind us. I ran hard, outrunning David, and ran with much of the crowd. We're all trying to get to our houses or escape pods or something. However, my priority was to find my family. I found pod block C, and we saw the stairway was flooded with people pushing out. I ran into the crowd, pushing past people to reach the 3rd floor. Once I reached the 3rd floor, there were fewer and fewer people. I ran down the walkway and stopped at the open door of my house. However, I was stopped so suddenly that it slipped. When I regained my footing, I called out, "Mom! Dad!" But those cries went unanswered. I turned back and saw my brother Thomas grabbing a hold of me. "Come on, Matthew," he said, and grabbing me and pulling me. "Mom and Ryan are heading towards the escape pods. Come on, we gotta go now." Thomas said. We ran down the hallway as echoing gunfire grew louder and louder and more consistent. We were essentially jumping down the stairs to save time. We got to the bottom floor, and Thomas ran through the door, and he was promptly shot several times, which made me cower behind the corner. I watched as several soldiers were running around. I watched my brother bleeding on the floor, crying out in pain as blood gushed out from his torso. My brother was fucking shot. Those bastards! One of the soldiers had been running around and stopped and executed Thomas, shooting him in the head before he moved into the stairwell. When he did, I attacked him, smacking down his rifle and slamming him into the door. We fell to the floor. I pulled his arm away from his body and grabbed a hold of his gun and attempted to shoot him, but I myself was disarmed by the soldier smacking the gun out of my hand and smacking my face against the door. I fell down to my knees in defeat. The man raised his gun before he was shot a few times himself. It was the security guards. "We got a civilian, John. Take him to the escape pods," said Officer Grands. That's what I read from his name tag. John grabbed me and pulled me around and took a hallway, following the signs that led to the escape pods. I could hear the sounds of screaming, people being massacred by the dozens. How the hell could this happen? Why me? Why everyone? What the hell is happening? I continued to run. We got to the edge of the hallway and saw the opening of the atrium. There were so many people in there, killed, all of them gunned down. Many more were still there, barely alive and crawling against the ground, leaving a blood trail. I saw someone helping his friend, or somebody trying to help his friend, trying to pick him up and carry him. They were also wounded. Fuck. Wait here, said Officer John. I looked on as the soldiers wearing gray and brown uniforms ran up and gunned down the man carrying the wounded and executed the others that were still alive on the ground. John put his hand over my mouth to prevent me from squealing, from letting them know where we are.
"Come on, we have more people trying to escape. Capture any cities,"
said one of the soldiers, and the rest moved on, taking off running. Let's go. Be quick, Matt. We began moving again, trying to keep away from the bodies, and went in the same general direction as those soldiers, continuing towards those escape pods. Come on, Matt. We keep going. If we stay, more of those soldiers will show up and kill us, said Officer John. I know, I said. Many of the bodies all over the ground were security officers and other people I knew. All dead. Their corpses lined the damn hallways. I kept pushing forward down the walkway before finding our defensive lines. I saw several security officers, including my father. The group of soldiers we were following had been killed and their guns were taken by the security officers and those who were willing to fight and take arms. I ran towards the line. Over here! We got more that will be here soon, shouted an officer. He waved his arms as we got closer. I ran past the defensive lineman and ran towards my father. I ran and gave him a hug. Thank God you're okay, he said. He hugged me back. But you need to go. Your mother and Ryan are waiting for you, my father said. No, I can't, I said, and tried to get him to go with me. You know my duties. I will protect you as long as I can. Don't worry. I can make it to another escape pod, said my dad. No. I pleaded. He pushed me off and told me to go. Officer John grabbed me and pulled me with him. Come on, Matt, he said, and pushed me into the crowd. Find your mother. He turned away and went back towards my father. He's going to fight too. I went further into the crowd of people, all clamoring to get into the escape pods. Most of those pods can only fit 8 people, and we have 140 of them here. And there was more than 4,000 people on this ship. I tried to get through, being pushed around through this sea of people as more people try to get in those ships. This is what brings out the worst in men and women. They all have become selfish people. All this is about self-preservation. I watched more and more escape pods fill up and shoot away. I heard gunshots. It sounded like the line was being engaged once more. This sent people into a panic, making them cower in fear. However, this didn't last long, and out of their own self-preservation, they began panicking more and more and more, shoved their way to the escape pods, some reaching more than 20 people inside before the doors shut. I watched them all fire out before the next pod was loaded into its place. The fighting got worse and the gunshots grew louder and louder. This was followed by a loud explosion that made many more scream. I was knocked over by the explosion, and several soldiers rushed in.
On the ground!
Shouted one. Others came in and executed those that were not complying by their demands.
Get on the damn ground!
Shouted the same man as before. Several people got onto the ground. Others that didn't were killed, and those bodies fell on those that were still alive.
Now that we have your attention, we're here to send a message. This is to the unified Earth colonies. Stop coming to Fandago!
Shouted one of the soldiers. Several more soldiers came in and began putting people in chains. I was among those put in the chains. Everyone here was likely to be put in chains as well.
Remain calm, everyone. This is not a choice. You are deemed enemies of war by the Confederation of Planets. You all will be sanctioned and properly punished. Each and every one of you will become an asset to our cause regardless of your own will. Children under the age of 5 will be sanctioned for rehabilitation. Everyone else, you are deemed prisoners of war.
Said one of the lead soldiers.
Use the canisters.
Said another. They pulled out canisters of something and pulled the pins and tossed them into the crowd of people. They all put on gas masks. Some people tried to resist, but they were quickly shut down. The soldiers waved their guns and shouts at us, forcing everyone into submission while the gas spread amongst us. I struggled to breathe. My vision grew very blurry. My head hurt tremendously. I fell down, struggling to breathe, and the others around me passed out as well. I myself succumbed to the gas, and everything went completely black. Howdy again. It's me. It's all over. That's the end of chapter 1. A little bit intense, a little probably janky here and there, but hey, it's all work in progress, right? So I'll try to get it all ironed out, and maybe by the end it'll be one fantastical audiobook for you. Hope this helps. Thanks.